How many calories should I consume, Scott, to achieve my goal?
About 4,000.
4,000. You're probably not too far off.
Just plug that straight out of the air. Again, we always discuss this: is how long is a piece of string? What is your goal? That kind of stuff. So yeah, what is your goal? I think that's the most important thing you should establish before you even baseline someone's calories, or even think about calorie amounts. Is like, well, what is your focus? What are you looking to achieve?
What do you want to get out of it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I guess you could approach it from different angles, because I would probably start even before your goal, with calories being the primary concern and the thing that you want to focus on, right?
Yeah.
Rather than thinking about what your goal is, just like, how many do you even need to count calories? You know?
Yeah.
That's a question to itself.
So are calories relevant?
Are calories relevant? I'd say they can be. So woolly. They can be, but I don't think everyone responds very well to calories. So, for example, like some people, you give them a calorie amount and they will nail it. They will literally go on MyFitnessPal, they'll weigh all their foods, and they'll get real intense and really freak out about the numbers, which is kind of what you need if you're going to be doing your calorie counting. I think that equates to about less than 5% of the clients that I deal with.
Yeah, definitely less than 5%.
There's a whole theory, it's like chefs versus cooks. So like, a bit of fluff there. Cooks can be a bit more free and then be like, oh, I'll put some tomatoes in there, I'll put a bit of salt, I'll put a bit of pepper, and then be a bit more flexible with it. Whereas a chef, you can't play around with how much ingredients you put in because your bread doesn't rise. You've got to be a lot more specific.
A little bit more of a precise science.
Yeah, exactly. So you get people in those camps, and the people that are chefs will respond really well to kind of portion control by eye and being a bit more flexible with it, whereas people that are bakers are a lot more meticulous and precise. So I guess thinking about where you fall on that spectrum first will dictate.
It's the type of person you are. So if you want a little bit more flexibility and you're not someone that wants to be tracking calories on MyFitnessPal, and that's not something that you know that you're going to be able to maintain for long periods of time, then that's not for you, and counting calories won't work for you, even if it was regarded as the best method. Does that make sense? Like, being precise, we both know, being as precise as possible and as accurate as possible is going to yield the best results.
Yeah.
But not everyone is in a position where they're
able to monitor,
able to do it, or they want to,
or it's sustainable with their life.
Exactly, and I think that's the biggest thing to highlight there, really. So the fact that counting calories, and in terms of counting calories, you'll be aware of your calorie intake and the energy balance and that kind of stuff is important, and is the most important thing when you're looking for increasing lean mass or reducing body fat percentage. However, counting calories in that level of detail isn't for everybody.
I've done both. So I've done, and my quality of life improved massively when I ditched counting calories. Like, I did the whole thing where I would, for a couple of months, where I meticulously planned all my food, and it was for fat loss, to kind of help understand what clients go through and stuff like that. I got great results, but it was so boring, you know, it didn't fit in with my lifestyle. I have my friends that will go, do you want to go for a beer? And I want to be able to do that and not go, it's empty calories, I need to get food in. It didn't work with my lifestyle. If my goal was very driven towards fat loss, you know, if someone said to me, you're the new Wolverine, you're going to be on screen in 3 months' time, lose as much fat, get shredded as you can, I'd be a bit more motivated to be extreme in it. But
and in order to get that result, to be Wolverine in the next upcoming Wolverine film, you'd have to do that.
Yeah.
Like, the precision would have to be there in order for you to be able to...
You train harder, you do lots of things.
Yeah.
But how many people are doing that? So and it kind of goes back to when we were talking about simplicity, and how simplicity kind of thrives when you think longer term. Rather than these short-term goals where you have to get complicated, you have to get meticulous, you have to get short-term focused. But then when I started doing portions by eye and not really thinking about calories, thinking about, you know, if you want to lose fat, eating less, or if you want to build muscle, eating more, it can be really quite as simple as that. So I reckon in terms of calories, like you need to first understand what a calorie is.
What is a calorie?
It's a unit of energy. It's probably the most simple way of doing it. And you need to think like that energy's in food. When you consume it, it's in you. And then when you exercise, it departs you. That sounds, it's real simple. So if you eat loads of food and you take on loads of energy, you put weight on. And you're not really dispatching it out through exercise. And vice versa, if you're exercising loads and you're not eating much, you take all the energy out of you, you lose weight. It's a very basic way of putting it. The law of energy balance. So when you said back to think about what your goal is, that's important to know that. If you're like, I want to lose fat, you need to move more, eat less. Either both or one of the two. Likewise, if you want to build muscle, you need to eat more, potentially move less. And lots of people, that's when you get people, we had an inquiry just yesterday, someone emailed going, I want to build muscle, burn fat. They kind of don't work together.
They're counterintuitive.
Yeah, it's like you need to find the one that you're most passionate about with, which is what you go back to. I'm most passionate about building muscle. It's like, right, you need to eat more. Then you put on your muscle and then you start to lose fat, you whittle down the fat and see what you've put on. So that's a real important point, and that makes a lot of sense. So we're kind of attacking this from lots of different angles. This is how we work.
That's why we have a chat. It's more of an informal chat to answer and just kind of go blow with our ideas, and hopefully we can kind of decipher it a little bit and give some solutions for people to kind of walk away with at the end of the chat.
Yeah, and you did something interesting at the start when I said how many calories, and you went 4. I didn't do good pot. 4,000. A lot of people do that. There is, if anyone looks at you and tells you how many calories you could consume, they don't know what they're talking about because they don't know you. Your body's incredibly sophisticated, it adapts to certain things. So no one can really pluck out the air. There's little mathematical equations you can do that involve your height, your weight, your age, and you can come up with something that you're like someone of that typical height, weight, age, activity level would need to consume.
It acts as a starting point, doesn't it? And that's
yeah.
the thing, like apps like MyFitnessPal, they'll have an algorithm that will calculate that based on the average population of your age, your gender,
and it gives
level, that kind of stuff.
It gives you a general outline, or you can look at where you're at and see how that compares to kind of a typical individual. So you might go, well, actually, I'm completely out of this spectrum, so maybe I'm not doing something right, I'm not eating correctly. So we can do things like that. It gives us a rough jumping off point. But really, the best indicator is to see how many calories you're taking in. So if you are one of those baker type people and you're really meticulous, log your food for a week and work out the average calorie intake per day and see how you changed over that week. And just eat like you normally would. Don't go like, right, I'm going to really consciously eat healthy, because then you've manipulated the data into something that doesn't reflect your normal life. So if I said, Scott, let's weigh you, your goal's to lose fat, say, we weigh you, get rid of the pooch. Say you weigh 80 kilos, you eat all your food and do your normal exercise levels, and like we eat all your food. It's like, what are you having there? A little bit of that.
I don't share.
That could happen, yeah. But like you eat your food, and if we look at it, and you've consumed on average 2,000 calories per day, and you've lost weight, then 2,000 calories and your current exercise levels will roughly lose you weight. If it stayed the same, then you might need to decrease from that 2,000 calories. If it's gone up, you'll definitely need to decrease if you want to lose fat, generally speaking. So that's kind of the best way, is download MyFitnessPal, log your food, take some stats before and after, look at the data. It's kind of like plan, assess, test. And then I guess the other thing, and this is kind of goes a bit more complicated, is calories aren't always calories in a weird way. Like
what?
No, yeah.
So everyone there is now going,
what the hell's going on?
What do you mean?
Yeah. So
what do you mean a calorie is not a calorie? I don't understand.
Well, you've got different macronutrients, so your protein, your fat, your carbs, will absorb at different rates. So when people say you are what you eat, it's kind of more accurate to say you are what you eat, absorb, and take on.
Yeah.
So like certain macronutrients will require more calories to digest. So like 20% of that macronutrient could go on just digesting it. So if you have 100 calories, might be they only take 80 on.
Yeah.
And different food types, if you've got really refined foods, you tend to absorb more than if you have like whole foods, you'll absorb less. And little things like that. And that's really hard to measure. So even when you're measuring calories, it's not always entirely specific. It's not accurate. And there's a bit of discrepancy on packaging as well.
Yeah, there is. And again, I think we talk about this quite a lot. It's just about getting some consistency down. So the other thing I would add in terms of that little scientific experiment that you're going to go away and do. So you're going to be tracking your calories for 7 days. You'll kind of get an idea of some trends that occur. So like, just had a client gave me a food diary feedback today. So for Monday through Friday, she's like way below her calorie allowance, and then Saturday and Sunday she kind of near enough like doubles her calories on a Saturday and a Sunday.
Quite common.
It's very, very common. But generally what I would do in terms of if I was looking at that, I'd do it like a mean or an average over those 7 days. So I'd calculate the total calories over 7 days and then divide those over 7 to be able to make up what the target is, depending on the results that they yielded. Does that make sense? So
yeah.
So you look at and find out what the average is over those 7 days.
So like
after taking the 7-day food diary.
So loosely speaking, say that average was 2,000. If you had 1,900 on a Friday, you could potentially get away with 2,100 on a Saturday. And over the course of the week, it's not going to make too much difference. It's not going to be the end of the world.
Generally, what I say to people is that if you're setting that calorie allowance, try and set that as a maximum that you don't go over, particularly if you're looking for a fat loss result. Like generally, when you're in a healthy deficit, it should still mean you can still live your life. It just means that you need to be more mindful of certain things at certain times. Like when you go out on a weekend, it might be that, all right, my allowance is 2,000 calories. Normally I'd kind of let loose for the entire day of a Saturday. Might be like, what's my priority for the day? When I'm going out with my buddies in the evening, I'm going to try and allocate more of my calories towards the end of the day when I'm going to be requiring them. I'm going to be out with my mates and I can still go and enjoy going out. I just I delay breakfast, I have a lighter lunch, and then I can go out and enjoy myself. But use those targets as I do not cross that line kind of thing. That means you're going to remain in that deficit collectively over 7 days, and that means you're going to continue going in it will be a positive direction towards your goal, but your weight will be coming down, and your body fat will be coming down. Yeah. If that makes sense. A lot of the people will go, oh, well, I'm good for 5 days, that means I can then treat myself. Well done, Scotty, you've done a great job. Over 2 days, you could completely scrap your deficit in 2 days. Yeah.
I don't like cheat meals. Cheat meals is bodybuilding.
What I hate is treat meals. Cheat meals. It's like, I'm going to treat myself. Why? You're rewarding it. What have you achieved? Well, have you achieved your goal yet? No. Why are you treating yourself for?
But people talk about cheat meals, and it's a bodybuilding method of it's quite
because bodybuilding, and particularly people that are stripping for shows, they are that strict that it is a treat having a scoop of ice cream.
You can't
they are living on chicken, broccoli, real simple foods for a prolonged period of time.
You can't have a glass of wine with TV every night and then go, ooh, it's Saturday, cheat meal. It's like you've been deviating from a plan potentially all week. But I guess that makes a point. I think if you're trying to do things just tie it back towards your goal, it's trying to identify the elements of your. We've tried a new microphone down, so if you're playing around and you need to identify the area where you can either reduce or add calories. So for example, I got a client, Russ, who's wanting to build muscle. He doesn't eat breakfast, so that's a reduced opportunity where he can get his calories in. So it's boom, gonna eat breakfast. I don't really even care what he eats too much, within reason. You don't need to be I had a Snickers bar for brekkie, awesome. But just him eating breakfast, I know he doesn't change anything else in his diet. I know he's getting more calories in than he was. Yeah. And sure enough, he starts putting on weight. And vice versa. If you go after work, you've got quite a social job, and you have 2 pints after work every weekday, cut that down to 1 pint, and you're already reducing those extra kind of empty calories. So it's looking at your own life and kind of trying to see the deficiencies and where you can fill them in, or where you're seeing you're indulging and you can reduce it, and maybe not, without even eliminating it, still get positive results.
So what we've talked about really is, in brief terms, is we've kind of giving basic strategies for fat loss or muscle gain or weight gain, just by literally just manipulating that energy balance, that seesaw effect between energy in, energy out. We both know as coaches that isn't, it's easy to say. What you've got to do is you've got to move more and eat less. Done. Thank you very much. So I mean, it isn't that simple, right? For a lot of the time. So I think for some people, it's being mindful of when you are tracking the things that you should also like consider. So I had a conversation first thing this morning with one of my clients. We were talking about, so I look at your food diary, it seems like you're not really consuming that much. Are you including dressings and sauces? Are you including
soft
cooking fats? Are you including coffee, tea?
With a scoop of sugar and
sugar, all that kind of stuff. All these little things add up. And it's making sure that people are mindful of that. To be like, well, you know, I'm hardly eating, but I'm not losing weight. Well, actually, if you're not losing weight, that generally means you're probably not in a calorie deficit, and you're not counting these little bits and pieces.
Yeah. So it's quite a sad truth to tell some people. It's like when people go, I've not lost weight, and they're like, I'm putting weight on, but I'm barely eating anything. It's like, it's coming from somewhere, unless you've got an actual medical issue, which rarely in these cases do the people actually have that. It's got to come from somewhere, right? You don't put energy on and weight on without consuming anything. You don't see.
No. It's like trying to build a brick wall without
any bricks.
More
you wake up in the morning.
I've got a pile of sand and a bucket of water, and I wake up the next morning and I've now got a brick wall. It doesn't happen that way.
Yeah.
But that's the same way as in terms of like muscle gain. If someone says, I want to put on some lean mass, I want to put on some muscle. It's like, but I'm going to have 2 meals a day, and I'm going to have 1 chicken breast and a heap of salads. Like, you've got no chance of doing that.
No.
Your body's just constantly getting broken down.
Yeah.
But yeah, like if we talk back to the kind of the fat loss, which generally is more common
with
people
with calorie
work
counting,
with generally, and particularly with calorie counting, where it becomes a lot more relevant. If someone's actually trying to create that baseline, getting a true idea of actually what they are consuming, you need to include everything.
Including your exercise as well.
But in terms of, if we're looking at just tracking the calories that you consume, it's everything that is involved in preparing a meal.
Yeah.
Has to be included into that count. And things like MyFitnessPal is a pretty decent resource. It's also giving people an idea of, like, when you input it into MyFitnessPal, is having an accurate reading of actually how much you had.
Oh yeah.
Does that make sense?
Just the mere act of logging food can help people reduce their intakes. They go, shall I have that beer? How many calories is it? Whoa. Put it down.
Yeah. Or like, it's like things like on MyFitnessPal, like I had a cup of rice.
Yeah.
Well, actually, we didn't have a cup of rice. You had the entire pouch
Bag.
of 2 minute. We had the entire pouch of 2 minute rice, which technically is 2 servings of rice.
That's how much I have.
Yeah, you do. But what I'm saying is, for someone who's looking to reduce calories, straight away, you've given yourself a skewed result.
Yeah. Or you read.
You've not read the packaging. You've not actually understood actually what true portion should be, and then when you've logged it, you haven't given yourself a true reflection of actually what you've done. So you end up lying to yourself. Like, I'm not eating, but I'm still gaining weight. Well, actually, you are actually eating a lot more than you think you are, and more than you're tracking.
Or more than they want you to eat, even. Like, you look at the bag, the pack of like a pack of digestives, and it's like portion 2 biscuits. It's like, who has 2 digestives?
Nah,
do you know what I mean?
Take them away from
These people are having like 5 and going, oh, that's about a portion. It's like, no, you've had over 2 times the portion. You know, like, just awareness is a big thing, and that's what food tracking helps with. So,
and that's something you have to be very aware when you are food tracking, in order to make sure you have a really good starting point. So it's an accurate reflection of what you're doing. You measure what the result, like you have an accurate reflection of what your day-to-day eating habits are. You know what collectively over your week, what your calorie intake is. At the end, you've then also taken some data to see whether, by changing nothing, whether you're actually losing weight, staying the same, or gaining weight. And then you're in a much better position to say, all right, I'm going to reduce my calories down by I don't know, 500 calories or whatever it's going to be, 10 to 15%. We'll do that consistently every day.
How much are you eating if that's 10 to 15%?
No, but what I'm saying is it depends. Like if someone,
yeah.
again, that's me plucking a number from there.
Yeah.
Plucking a number from there, but I'm going to reduce it down by 10 to 15%.
Yeah.
And then I've got
See
a
what
good
happens.
starting point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do that, and you'll have your calorie intake. Boom.
Boosh.